Hi everybody, so we've got another chapter to read of How Winston Delivered Christmas, and it's chapter 13. There aren't many pictures, so I'll just hold it like this to read it, and when there is one I'll turn the book around so you can see it. So this chapter is called As Flat as a Pancake, Almost. "Come on, Winston," he squeaked to himself. "You can do this!" But Winston didn't feel as if he could. The road was wide and very busy with traffic, whizzing up and down, and the ground was slushy and slippery. In the distance, the letter was still stuck to the pole. The edges were twitching and wiggling as cars zoomed by, but so far it hadn't flown off any further down the street into the oncoming vehicles. Winston willed his whiskers to stop shivering. He took a few steps forward so his feet were right on the edge of the curb. It was very dangerous for a tiny mouse like him to scamper into the road. He was too small for any of the drivers to see him, and even more invisible against the swirling snow and bright flashing headlights. As he watched, the lights blurred together and shimmered like the chains of fairy lights that were wrapped and looped around the street lamps and the trees on either side of the road. Normally, he would have thought that these looked rather pretty, but the only thing filling his mind at this moment was how big, wide and scary the place was between him and the letter. He squeezed his eyes shut tight for a moment. "You can do it," he told himself. "You are a very brave mouse." And he decided maybe this was true. Usually at this time of night he would be tucked up in a hidey hole somewhere, trying to sleep and stay warm. But tonight he'd already been doing lots of brave things. Winston braced himself. He was going to do it. He was going to retrieve the letter. Looking in the direction of the traffic, he spotted a small break in a line of vehicles and chose, just at that moment, to leap off the curb and dash part of the way across the road. His heart was really pounding now. He was stuck in the middle of two lanes of traffic. Cars whipped past him on both sides. The earth shuddered under his paws and great clouds of dirty black smoke coughed out from the exhaust pipes. Winston tried to focus on getting across the next bit of road and onto a small strip of raised pavement in the middle. He steered himself, wiggled his nose and checked for a safe gap. He took a deep breath and scampered as quickly as he could across the slippery street. But he had misjudged the speed of the car zooming down the road. It was disorientating. And there's a nice picture here. Oh no, of the car zooming towards him. What do you think's going to happen? A bus whizzed by and Winston spun around several times on the spot. When he eventually managed to steady himself, he didn't know where he'd come from or where he was meant to be going. He heard a loud roar behind him. He squeaked in alarm. An enormous car was heading straight for him. Its bright yellow headlights were blinding and they were getting nearer and nearer and nearer. If he didn't move, he'd end up flat as a pancake. "Winston, move!" he cried out to himself, but his tiny feet were frozen with fear. He crouched lower onto the ground and put his paws over his head. He braced himself for a collision with the car and he closed his eyes tight. He could feel the car coming closer and closer and closer. And that is the end of chapter 13, so you'll have to wait until chapter 14 to find out what happens. I hope you'll be okay. Thank you for listening, everybody. Bye.